We are live.
Welcome everybody to the end of January episode, the Ask Us Anything Q&A episode of Secular Jihadists for a Muslim Enlightenment. As all of the Muslim workers in meat processing plants in Italy say, a salami maker. Okay, this is terrible. Okay, that's it. We just lost half our viewers. I apologize, guys. I'm a dad and I make dad jokes. Hey, it's the end of January 2021. And we just wrapped up this month. For those of you who are hearing us for the first time or you're not patrons, we do this regularly. Please do go to at patreon.com/SJME and consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month, and you get about 5 or so live streams a month where you can watch them. We have lots of interesting guests and interesting discussions, so absolutely do that. And we'll talk about it also again at the end of the show. But anyway, we are here to take your questions. If you have questions to ask, please tag us in the YouTube chat or in the Facebook chat or wherever you're watching this, just at Secular Jihadists, and then we will select questions out of that to read out.
I see our regulars in the live chat. I also want to mention that people are becoming YouTube members on Secular Jihadists. Dolly is a YouTube member. Thank you so much, Dolly, for that. Ghost Bunny is also a YouTube member. That's awesome.
Ghost Bunny. Hi, Ghost Bunny.
Ghost Bunny. Yes.
I like it. Ghost Bunny.
You don't know Ghost Bunny? You should know them. Oh, wait. Why am I hearing my phone?
It's a great name for a band.
Yes.
Ghost Bunny.
Well, Ghost Bunny. All right. Here, we have a first question already.
First question. Okay. Secular Jihadists, what are your thoughts on Douglas Murray? Do you think his claims on the death of Europe are hyperbolic?
Yes.
Yeah, they are.
They are hyperbolic, but he's a good person. I mean,
well, you met him, right? You hung out with him?
Yeah, I met him. He's fun to talk to. He's very friendly, but yeah, it is hyperbolic.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, keep going. I mean, is Islam a concern? Yeah, of course. Is it going to result in the death of Europe? No. I think the death of Islam in Islamic countries are more likely than the death of Europe because of things like Islam. Yeah, that's I am a lot more optimistic. I think like Islam is having a in fact, I do think a lot of in fact, not only we're doing good at ideologically defending against Islam, I think like because of a lot of Muslims coming to North American and Western European countries, and that having an impact on them becoming less Islamic and abandoning Islam, that also has an impact on the views back home. I mean, for example, if you look at Iran, a lot of Iranians from Iran watch YouTube and content and podcasts and books and read books by Iranians written outside of Iran, books that they would have not been able to publish inside Iran, or shows that they're having outside of Iran that they wouldn't have been able to have inside Iran, right? So if anything, not only these people coming outside is not gonna, like, it's still a threat ideologically, not physically, but ideologically it's a threat. But it's more of a threat ideologically to these countries' home base. You know what I mean? Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think that, Douglas Murray seems like a friendly guy. He seems like a smart guy and everything. I just don't agree with him politically. Lucas Lynch, our friend Lucas Lynch on Facebook, had a post today where he says, and I'll read it out. He says, Jordan Peterson and Douglas Murray telling you that your right-wing activism is getting out of hand is like Snoop Dogg asking you to ease up on the weed. It's probably time to take a good hard look at yourself. And I kind of agree with that. I think that there's a There's a lot of hyperbole on all these sides. We've talked about this woke issue before. I'm not a huge fan of wokeness at all. I don't think neither Armin nor I are. But to me, it sometimes seems like the anti-woke thing is an overcorrection as well, and it's becoming its own sort of little cult. And I tend to see some of that stuff from the likes of Douglas Murray. But that's my opinion on it.
I also remember having a debate, non-recorded debate with Douglas Murray. Douglas Murray is gay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was having a debate with a straight person, which was me, over gay pride parades, and he's against it, and I was defending it, and he was against it, and he was like, I don't know, he doesn't like how sexual it is and how it's all he just thinks like it's all lewd and I don't know, degenerate or stuff like that. So he was thinking like this is not helpful. He doesn't like it. And why is it that gay rights activism is always so sexualized? Like, so why is it like always like showing too much in public and stuff like that? And I was like, well, you're defending something. You're trying to normalize something that is about sexuality. Of course, it's going to be like you're trying to normalize a taboo that is about sexuality. How else is going to be? Like, what did you expect? Like I think he was suggesting why are other human rights activists doesn't involve sexualizing people and being this, like he thought this is backfires. He thought that this makes gay people look bad, and I was like, no. I mean, the reason why the other ones weren't portraying sexuality this much was because they're not about sexuality, right? So that was a small debate. Oh, we have a celebrity.
We do.
Our apostate prophet is here.
Hey, apostate prophet. Ravon, how's it going?
Ask us anything, John. I don't understand. John, is that like a Persian thing?
John is, I don't know. It's a term of endearment in
in Persian,
in Urdu at least. Yeah, in Persian, Urdu. Okay. It doesn't sound like a question, but
yes.
Yeah. In any case, so we have one from Mo Manifesto.
Oh, where is it?
Hold on. 1105, and he's asking about NBA player Stephen Jackson, who just took the Shahada and became a Muslim. So I didn't know this. He's a former NBA champion. So he's officially converted to Islam. And he's saying, what do you think about this? So the guy, I know who he is. I didn't know that he converted to Islam. But when it comes to these sort of basketball players who would convert to, I mean, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, for instance, like he's a legendary basketball player. He's the highest scoring basketball player in history. He is a Muslim. He's an Islamic convert as well, but he's, I don't really know why they do it. It could be many, many reasons, and they all come in, not all of them are the same. Dave Chappelle, who's absolutely brilliant, is Muslim. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a Muslim, and he wrote the review for my book in the New York Times, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and it was a really, really, really good review. Like I was beaming about it for weeks when it happened. Actually, I'm still beaming about it. So
I'm beaming about the super chat that we just got from the Apostate Prophet himself.
Yeah, I was beaming a little bit more about the review, but this is pretty good. Apostate Prophet, this is great. It's a pretty close.
Thank you. No, wait, no, this is amazing. You have no. This is better. This is better than whatever you were doing.
Thank you, AP.
Yes. Well, actually, let's ask Apostate Prophet's question. Apostate Prophet is asking, if I believe I can fly, does that mean I believe I can fly? Yes.
That's a really tough question. It's amazing.
That's a tough question.
Okay,
but it's true. All right, let's go with this one. Oh no, this is not a.
This is a comment. Yeah,
this is a comments. There we go. Kenji.
So Kenji is saying, Ali, I've been reading your book and it's been really powerful for me. Given that you're a singer and having an international background, which language do you prefer to sing in? Oh, thank you very much. Armin's holding up my book. Keji, thank you very much. I appreciate that, and that means a lot to me. That's been, it's resonating with you. Now, as far as the singing goes, oh man, this is such a hard question because I started singing in Urdu when I was a kid, and the way that you can express yourself in Urdu or actually in Farsi, in Persian, there's an emotionality to it. There are things that they're abstract ideas that you can express in a way that you just can't do in English. And so when it comes to the poetry, like the ghazals, which is my preferred thing that I like singing, ghazals they're just so lyrically expressive and just melodically, they're amazing as well. So I love that. On the other hand, when you're singing in English, it's not about the language, but the way that I like singing a lot of things that, like Chris Cornell from Soundgarden, the way that he sings, that's also something that's completely otherworldly. So it's just, music really is an international language, and you learn a lot from singing different styles of music. When it comes to range and singing sort of high notes and the higher register, I enjoy singing in some of the more English stuff. And when it comes to just being purely emotive, I absolutely love singing in Urdu and Hindi. So yeah.
Okay.
Mehdi Hassan, not that Mehdi Hassan, not this one that's totally corrupted the name, not the journalist, but Mehdi Hassan, the ghazal singer, the classic ghazal singer, is probably one of my favorite singers of all time. Next question from MJ. Armin and Ali, a person you would punch in the face if you get one free shot. Armin, are you going to say me?
No. Why would I say you?
I don't know. It's just, yeah. A low self-esteem, I guess. Yeah.
Oh my God. No, what the hell?
I'm just kidding.
I can't think of anyone.
He wouldn't dare. Punch in the face? No, man, I don't.
Wait, am I sparring somebody? Like I used to punch people in the face, but that was because we were like doing martial arts. No, mixed martial arts and stuff like that. But like because I hate them or something like that, I can't think of anybody. No.
You know something? There's when I was a kid, my dad told me, right, when I was very young, when I said I hate something, he told me, he's like, hate is a very strong word. Try not to use it. You say
no. I don't. No. There are certain things I hate a lot.
No, I get that. I'm just telling you, like, my side of things. So he said that hate. Try to say that you dislike something, you don't like something, and I know that hate isn't a bad word. I know a lot of times it's completely justified, but when I speak, I try to avoid it and try to talk about why I don't like something rather than just saying outright I hate it. I fail at that a lot, but I told that to my daughter as well, and she's 4, and I've noticed that actually it affects their personality. It makes things different. It makes you a little bit more less reactive and more responsive. Like you don't react to things as much and you respond to them more. I know that I'm going into this, feels like a tangent, but I've never really felt like punching somebody in the face ever.
In fact, there are certain people that I think that would be able to, that if you think of some certain people that are really garbage human beings, I think they would love it if you punch them in the face, because it really helps their career, getting punched in the face. Yeah, getting punched in the face is really good for you. Like, for example, imagine if I was in speaker's corner and I was like, a Muslim came and punched me in the face, I would be like, you know what this is gonna do for me, right? Like, I don't know what I don't know. Do you, like, you're not being very strategic here. Do you understand that this is about to go viral, right? Like, I don't know, like, you know how many more people are gonna discover me because of what you just did right now? So I don't know. So I don't think people understand how things work. Right here, there you go.
Oh, so yeah, this is Zaf. He's saying, what are your views on Juan Cole? Okay, he's the historian, Islamic historian. Excuse me. Especially his book, Muhammad, Prophet of Peace Amid Clash of Empires. Mind you, he's a professor of history. he has an opinion. I haven't read any of his books like in detail or anything like that. I generally know what his viewpoints are, and he's there is a little bit of apologetics there, but he's a historian. There's many historians that actually think like he does. There's other historians who think differently, and they have a completely different view of things, right? And they all seem to have done their own reading. And this is the thing with Islamic history, is that it's so spotty. Again, the very first published biography of Muhammad came out 200 years after his death, right? The very first hadith, right? Everything that we know, the Quran is very, very vague on Muhammad's contemporaries, on his actual life when it was happening. Everything we know about his meditation in the Hira cave, his wives, none of these people are mentioned in the Quran. So all you have is his Sirah, the biography, and the hadith, both of which were published more than 200 years after his death. And there really isn't a whole lot else to go on in that 200 years. So
I'm almost convinced that 99% of what we know about Muhammad is based on nothing. Like it didn't even happen. Like I'm almost getting to the point that I'm willing to change this position, but the whole theory of the Arabs not even being Muslim when they invaded Iran and Jerusalem, and the name of the person that led them out wasn't even Muhammad, them not coming even out of Mecca. Like the more I do research, the more, again, this might all be wrong, and I'm willing to give this up as soon as I figure out that I've been following some bad evidence, but seems like it, right?
Well, all the evidence is technically bad or spotty, right? I mean, all of because there just isn't anything.
No, it's beyond that. It's more than just a lack of evidence for the narrative that Muslims have.
It's contrary.
It's also existing evidence for a different story. Like it's worse. It's worse. Like right now, the situation for Muslims is worse than no evidence for their prophet.
Yeah.
I asked Apostate Prophet when his book is coming out. I know he's working on a book, and he said, "I don't know. Time is relative."
Right.
I would like to have a physical copy of Apostate Prophet's book when it comes out. I would love.
Yeah, I would get that too. I'm actually really interested in reading it. All right. So, next question. Fawad Ali, why do you think the new atheist movement died down?
It didn't die down.
I don't think it died down. So what happened, Fawad, is just anytime something gets really, really big, which is a good thing, factions developed. Okay, so when you have Islam became a really, really big thing, when you had Shias and Sunnis and Deobandis and like all kinds of different sects, they come in. The new atheist movement got really, really big. There were political divisions, just like there are everywhere else. There were like super conservative ones. There were far right new atheists. There were like far left new atheists, and everybody, had there were political divisions that happened. There were divisions based on, for instance, some new atheists came from a background of religious persecution. Others came from an academic background of science, and they were both seeking different things. Some of them were new atheists because they're in the pursuit of justice. Others were new atheists because they were in the pursuit of truth. So it's a good sign that it became big. Same thing happened to the ex-Muslim movement, right? The ex-Muslim movement was initially, I remember in 2007, 2008, it was just like Maryam Namazi, the Ayan Hirsi Ali, a few people here and there. You can count them on your hands, on one hand, actually. And then it just mushroomed into this huge thing. And now there's a lot of factions within them too, ideological differences. And that's actually really, really healthy. The diversity of thought within a movement shows that it's just really, really grown. It's gotten bigger.
Actually, I think the reason why people think the new atheist movement died down is because one is they are too hero focused, and another one is American centric, right? The new atheist movement has grown astronomically faster than I ever imagined across the planet, right? But I think if you just focus on the four horsemen and all, you think like, oh, they're less relevant. Well, they're less relevant because it's become decentralized. Like, look at the number of Arabic YouTube channels that are atheist Arab YouTube channels. Look at the number of Iranian content creators that are anti-religion right now. Like, look at the number of Urdu channels. Like, look at the Apostle Prophet can tell you, like in Turkey, like how much atheism is growing. It's actually way faster, like than I was optimistic, and it's actually growing faster than I ever imagined. Right?
Yeah.
I do think like it's becoming decentralized. So it's not like these main figures that we can point to be like these are the lead. Maybe because there's an absence of leader and it's become decentralized and it's spreading. Maybe there's that's why you may think like because the same figures that were back then being highlighted, they're not being highlighted as much as before. Maybe you think it's died down. It hasn't died down. And also maybe because you're just looking at the United States, and maybe because in the United States they're not talking about atheism as much as before, maybe you think it has died down. Maybe like be less American-centric point of view will change your mind. And also, by the way, this is why one thing I like about Apostle Prophet is that one thing he does a lot on his channel is he knows where he understands the future of activism involves in lifting up future YouTubers, future content creators, right? So one thing that like Apostle Prophet channel does very well, which I really love that about him, is that he goes and finds smaller new activists that he believes in, and he highlights them to his giant audience, right? So that's something that really
and so that's can I say just one more thing about this? Because this is really important. The fact that the new atheist movement is not only alive and well, but burgeoning. It's growing like crazy outside the US. And it is interesting that it's hard to tell why, because I mean, if you think about the very first new atheist Four Horsemen book that was published was Sam Harris's The End of Faith, and that was in 2004. 2004 is also when YouTube came into existence and Facebook came into existence. And then 2007 or 2009 that Twitter came into existence. All these sort of social media channels and YouTube and everything, they all came around the same time. So they probably, I don't know if there's one thing that started it all, but it was definitely a mixture of factors that all just came together at one time. And it also happened 3 years after 9/11, right? So there's a lot of variables that went into it. But yeah, I don't think it's died down at all.
This is not a question, but it's such a good comment that I want to highlight it. Bobo,
hey Bobo, how's it going? She's saying, or he's saying, I don't know. She, hey Bobo. Shout out to Ali. Thank you. I started reading the Quran to defend it to Hindutva, and it horrified me. I thought my nice Muslim neighbors wanted to secretly kill me. Your book provided a lot of perspective. Well, again, thank you very much. This stuff is coming up today, and it really does mean a lot.
So this is actually a very interesting roller coaster, right? So she's anti-Hindutva, so she wanted to defend Muslims, and she read the Quran. She realized once that she was wrong, that Islam is not something that requires that should be defended. But she went all the way to the other end to thinking that every Muslim is like a secret, is like dangerous. And then your book may change her mind. Like that's again, that's great. That's a very great progress.
What I'd say is just avoid the tendency to necessarily think that one side is right. I mean, you can have idiots fighting against idiots, and they'd still both be idiots. That's all I'm saying. That's my book in a summary.
Right. Okay, here's another question.
Oh yeah, what do you think is going to happen with Iran and the U.S. administration? Oh my God, this is a whole episode. Should we do a whole episode on this?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Chuck, because your question we will dedicate an entire episode to your question. So make sure you subscribe, and make sure you become a patron. I saw a super chat from our very own Harry Sultan. We'll get to it soon. But thank you so much, Harry Sultan. We're gonna get to your super chat soon. There we go.
Can I just say I love Harris Sultan? Like I absolutely love you, man.
Yes.
Like you are a hero, and you become more and more of a hero, and I'm just honored to have you as a friend. Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Here's a
Oh,
question.
here's another one. XYZ Media is asking, were you guys financially independent when you came out? Did you get disowned by family? And if you did, what were your next steps? I think we both were financially independent, right? Or were you?
No. I was 18. Definitely not.
Oh, yeah, you were 18 when you started the activism. But
It-
I think that another way to put this would be that our financial independence at the time when we started out came from non-activism sources, right? And I think that when you're starting out, I think that is a net positive because it keeps your ideas honest, right? You're not dependent on making a living. You're not dependent on your activism to make a living, because that can really affect things. If you have an organization.
Ali, the questions are coming. We need to answer a bit shorter because the questions are coming faster than we're answering.
No, but so I'll just say that I think that I see a lot of activists right now who get donations from certain places, and it's completely changed the way that they think about things, and I think that's a big mistake. Armin is one of the rare exceptions to that.
Yeah, my family did not disown me. My family were, even though they were an atheist, they were very happy that I became an atheist. They even their first response was "Thank God" when I became an atheist, because before I was an atheist, I was very religious, and they were extremely annoyed about how religious I was, because I was not just religious, I was also trying to get them to become more observant. So they had a morality police at their home that were constantly annoying them. So when I left Islam, they were very relieved. Usually ex-Muslims have the opposite problem. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's the thing. His Chuck is asking another question. Oh yeah, we already highlighted that.
We already did that.
Same thing. Okay, there we go. Bish
is saying, apologize in advance if this person isn't familiar, but what are you guys' thoughts on essence of thought harassing and trying to cancel people in the atheist community?
I don't know.
I don't know who this person is. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, actually, can somebody like let me know? This sounds like something like we need to know. That came after Rachel Oates, Stephen Wood. Oh wait,
they're the same person that came after Rachel Oates and Stephen Woodford when Axe had their drama just this month. They're accusing the JW Telltale of supporting gay genocide. I have no idea what this is about.
That sounds interesting, though. We should cover this on Atheist Republic.
Yeah, whatever this is, it sounds like a great Netflix series.
No, Bish, can you send the deets to Susanna? Maybe we'll cover it on Atheist Republic. Yeah. Okay.
We've already done this one too.
Oh, we did.
Okay, so Secular Jihadists, are you going to have an interview with Dan Gibson about his Petra claims? I reached out to, remember when I was trying to, and we did exchange some emails, and then he just kind of ghosted me. It seemed like, because he asked me, he's like, well, the thing is, I'm not an atheist. I'm like, well, you don't have to be an atheist. You just want to hear about your work.
Yeah.
Right? And then I just didn't hear back from him.
It's so sad that so many people that are looking into this whole, revisionist history about Islam and all, they're mostly Christian. Like, why don't we have it's so, and I even saw like some of them are even putting courses on this content, and I was like, I'm gonna take this, and they're actually making the requirements Christian only. Like, you can't even take it's so stupid. Anyways,
Moose Gal's Corner is saying, Ali, are you teaching your daughter about religion? No, not actively. I mean, right now she's young, but I will at some point. I mean, she did. Someone in her school, one of her friends at school, actually mentioned God to her, so she asked me about it, and she asks.
Okay, really short answers because we have so many questions.
Yeah, but this is. All right, just answer the question.
No, I know, but we have so many.
I know, but this is one of those questions. It's okay. We'll get to quality over quantity. So what I do is I don't really tell her anything, but I say, well, what do you think? Where does it come from? I let her do her thinking about it. But eventually I will. I think it's important for kids to know about religion.
Okay.
MJ is saying, your views about Kyle and Jimmy Dore's claim that the Syrian chemical attack was a hoax, although reports by Vice journalists and Bellingcat have debunked these claims.
Yeah, I think like it's unlikely, and none of these people, even if Kyle and Jimmy Dore are right, they're still wrong because they have no evidence. They have no evidence. So if they end up being correct, they ended up being correct accidentally by chance, right? Occam's razor applies that they're both.
Hitchens razor, man. Hitchens is like what can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed.
Oh yeah, both Hitchens razors and Occam's razors will give me the impression that they're both full of crap.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, again, is it possible that they're right? Yes. Is it, even if they're right, is completely irrational to take their position with the evidence that we have right now.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
So Dolly is asking, what do you think about Israel and the Middle East now? Do you think that Muslim countries can accept Israel and cooperate with them, or will they look at them as if they're the enemy? So Israel and the Middle East now, I do think that Muslim majority countries will be accepting Israel. I think those dominoes are falling already. We've seen the recent alliances with the UAE and Bahrain and Sudan, everything like that, and Saudi airspace and all that stuff. So I think that will happen. But I mean, this is a loaded question. We are going to have an episode on this. We have a guest who's lined up for this, who I think that we are probably going to have some disagreements with Armin as well. So I think it'll be kind of interesting to talk about, especially in the context of all the new developments.
Okay. Yeah, actually, by the way, when you say Middle East countries, you have to separate the government from... okay, so do you think that Muslim countries can accept Israel and cooperate with them? Really depends on which Middle Eastern country you're talking about, right? That's like, it really depends, right? Are you talking about Iran? Likely not. Are you talking about Turkey? They already are. Even though they talk about how bad Israel is, they already have trade agreements with them, right? So it really depends which country you're specific. If you're talking about Saudi Arabia, yeah, they're desperate. They want to, but they can't because of their people. It also really depends on whether you're talking about the government or the people, because there are some countries like Saudi Arabia where the government is desperate for them to cooperate with Israel, but it's so unpopular among their own population that they have to keep like getting other countries to get ahead of them before they could even suggest that they're doing it, even though it's an open secret that they already are cooperating with them behind the scenes. Like everybody knows, this is like such an open secret, it's ridiculous. But yeah, but the least likely one is obviously Iran. So actually, one interesting that you could look into is look at Harry Sultan's YouTube channel to see what Pakistan is doing when it comes to I mean, Pakistan is not in the Middle East, is right, but if you're interested in how Pakistan-Israel relationships are, Harry Sultan's YouTube channel would be a good one. Talking about Harry Sultan, this is the next comment. I want to respond to this before Ali does. Okay, Harry Sultan is saying, "I'm sure Ali Rizvi would support my petition against Ali Dawa. I'm actually against Harry Sultan's petition. In fact, we have I'm having on my own personal channel. We have a live stream coming up. This is Armin and Ali YouTube channel. The reason why I'm live streaming here is because Atheist Republic has got a strike, so there's no way to live stream on Atheist Republic. But we have a live stream coming up soon in 22 hours on my personal channel, which is going to be against Harry Sultan's petition." And it's the live stream is called "Let Ali Dawa Speak," Atheist Republic versus Harry Sultan. So yeah, I'm going to war with Harry Sultan. But yeah, what do you think,
guys? Is Harry Sultan going to be on it?
No.
Get him on it.
I'm just gonna no. It's easier to completely destroy him without having him.
I'm really sorry. So Harris, I would support any and all petition against Ali Dawa. This guy's a fucking idiot. But I want to ask. Don't
swear. We're really trying to grow this channel.
Yeah, sorry. So what exactly is the petition? I know that he doxed you or he did something. I don't know if that was him or somebody else. But what is this? I'm kind of.
Well, maybe he wants to get Australian government to not let Ali Dawa to come to Australia to speak because of his views. He wants to cancel Ali Dawa.
Cancel. Oh, so you don't want him to come to Australia to speak? Why? Because Is he going to incite violence, or because he did the doxing?
Because he doesn't like his views.
Are you representing him properly, Armin?
No.
Harris,
Maybe Harris say something in the live
message me and tell me the situation. So I mean, I trust Armin.
I'm gonna actually review the petition with Susanna.
Okay. So I'll look at the petition. I'll talk about it. So I'll just say one thing. Ahmadinejad. Remember when Ahmadinejad came and he spoke at Columbia, right? Columbia University, or I think it was in New York City. Back in the day, in the early 2000s, and everyone's like, "Oh, he shouldn't speak. He shouldn't speak." I kind of supported that he should speak, and he did speak. But then again, like the same people were trying not to let other people speak. I think that I am fine with sort of petitions against, if there's a university inviting him or the institution inviting him, to getting them to not to disinvite him. That is fine. Like that's deplatforming. I don't agree in all cases of when that happens, but that's okay. I'm not sure. I am a little iffy on governments not allowing speakers to come in unless there is like a clear incitement to terrorism or incitement to.
There is not.
Yeah.
He didn't have any direct incitement to violence, and even if he did,
but has he responded? Has Harris responded to it? Are you representing him properly? His position?
He's saying I am not representing him properly.
Okay,
and
Harris.
Here's his comment. So we've always said if someone promotes violence, we can and should shut them up.
Yeah, of course. I agree with that.
On that specific thing, not about like never being allowed into a country ever again, or okay. But I'm not gonna give you my arguments against this. He already has a video on it, right?
Okay.
So what I'm gonna do in this live stream in 22 hours is I'm going to review his video, and I'm going to respond to the video that he already has on it, right?
Okay.
I'm going to review it, and then I'm also going to read the petition. I'm going to tell people why he's wrong. Okay.
Okay, so and Harris. So this is I'm going to look in this. I'm going to be, because I don't know about it, so I don't want to say anything.
No, wait. Before you support this petition, first watch his video, and then watch my review of his video.
Oh, okay.
And then
I do trust Harris's judgment, and he's very consistent about these things usually. So I'm pretty sure that he's got a good point in there somewhere. But thank you, Harris. So I'll check it out.
Okay. All right, where were we? I lost my spot on this.
We're at the Harris Sultan super chat. Okay, the next one. Armin, this Vimont 82 at 11:25 p.m. is saying, "Hi, Armin and team. A newly converted ex-Muslim. Thanks for your videos. It really supported me in my journey."
Oh wow!
Yeah, this is. I'm just amazed that we still get this. Even now, like everybody's talking about how this work helps them, and it's just absolutely amazing that this is happening. So.
Oh, thank you so much. That made me so happy. Thank you so much, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Right.
Is it me that is hearing echo, or is anybody in the live chat also hearing echo? Anyways, Bish.
Okay, so Bish is saying, Armin, I sent some material to you in the AR video recommendations.
Okay, I'll take a look.
You can check that out. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
All right, so Fawad is saying, what are your thoughts on Jonathan Brown? In an AMA on Our Islam, he said that consent is not needed for sex slavery, but he still defends Islam.
That's consistent. First of all, we don't know if you're, just to be fully honest, we don't know if this is an accurate representation of what he said. So that's what we're dealing with. But why are you saying but? He said that consent is not needed for sex slavery, but he still defends Islam. Those are actually in line with each other. Islam also agrees that you don't need consent.
Mm-hmm.
So why is there?
The key thing is defense. He's saying he defends it, even though consent is not needed for sex slavery. Well, sex slavery by definition is non-consensual. He defends Islam despite the fact that he acknowledges that Islam does not require consent.
Well, I mean, if that's okay, again, we don't know if this is an accurate representation of what he said, but if that's what he said, then that's completely in compliance with Islam. I mean, he's being honest about Islam. So but the problem is, then why is he a Muslim, given that his religion is so horrific? All right, no, that's for Susanna. That's not for us. There we go.
Okay, hold on, let me see. XYZ Media is saying, where do you see the future of Pakistan and Iran, respectively? Oh man, this is like, do you want me to take the Pakistan thing? You can take.
Well, with the Iran one, we're gonna do an entire live stream. Okay, future. Okay, you go Pakistan.
We should probably do the future of Pakistan as well. One of the things that just recently happened, and this is devastating. Don't tell me to shorten this answer, Armin, because I got to talk about this. Is that the killers of Daniel Pearl? There's no dispute about this. This is, by the way, the first time I actually saw a video. This happened way before YouTube and anything like that. Of when they did that, they beheaded this journalist, Daniel Pearl, and it was clear who did it. They were convicted, and they were put in jail, right? And one of them was awaiting capital punishment. And they have they've freed 3 of them, and they've commuted the sentence of one of them. It's just the whole thing's a disaster, and it's coming from some of the highest courts authorities in Pakistan. I don't see the logic behind it. I don't know what's going on. I don't understand why this happened. This is devastating for everybody who cares about things like this. People can just behead journalists and get away with it. It is absolutely outrageous. Pakistan also jailed the guy who actually informed and helped get Osama bin Laden caught. Amplifying all of the suspicions they had that they were probably hiding him deliberately. So there's a lot of problems, and this is aside from all the other social political issues and the economic issues and all of the corruption and everything that's happening in Pakistan, and just the overall the way that a lot of the people are, the masses are, the huge crowds celebrating an assassin of the governor, the father of Shan Taseer, like Sultan Taseer was the governor of Punjab, like his assassination for standing alongside or supporting a Christian woman, poor Christian woman who's accused of blasphemy and for opposing blasphemy laws. Bodyguard murders him. The bodyguard assassin's funeral has like just millions of people. It's just absolutely, I don't know what to think. So I don't see the future of Pakistan as being very bright. We should probably do an episode on that too, as well as the Iran one.
Yeah, the Iran one, I just have to say that it really depends on three things, like long-term future or short-term future. I don't know which one I'm talking about. Longer term, it really depends on what happens after what the responses of different forces are to Khamenei's death, oil prices, and if for any reason access to internet becomes completely free for any reason, because of, I don't know, satellites or any other form of technology, that any kind of filtering becomes completely useless. If any of these these are the 3 things that is going to really completely change the future of Iran in so many, and the direction really depends on how if any of these happens and how exactly it happens, right? But again, the details of each one of these 3 I could do hours on each one of them. Here, Selva saying,
Armin, what do you consider as the plague of modern humanity in the 21st century?
There's 6: Islam, Christianity, Hindutva, far-right nationalism, Western far-right nationalism, and wokeism. That's number 5, and number 6 is the CCP,
the Chinese Communist Party.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that.
Yeah, good list.
Yeah, that's a good list.
Okay, wait. Where is the next question? There's a lot of comments. I'm trying to go from comments to questions. Comments. These are comments. These are comments. These are comments. Okay, I would really support. Okay, you can read that comment until I find the next question.
Yeah, so Bish is saying, I would really support Harris coming on, if not that live stream, at least another live stream. Harris, let's do it. Let's do it. You haven't been on here for a little while, so let's come here and let's talk about this. Just overall the principle of this, whatever you guys have going on that I still have to look into, and I'm not saying anything.
If Harris wants to join that live stream that I'm doing, I can't say no to him. But so if he would like let me in, I'm gonna be like, okay, fine.
Harris, get on it. Get on it.
Yeah. There we go. We have a question.
So MJ is saying, do you think Noam Chomsky sometimes goes overboard in his anti-America views? If he can give an interview to Muhammad Hijab, he should be coming to your show too. Please invite him. Oh, I didn't know he was giving an interview to Muhammad Hijab, but yeah, I'll reach out to him. It'd be great. Noam Chomsky's always been I've always really looked up to him. I was liked him. I think that a lot of his criticisms of U.S. foreign policy have been absolutely spot on. There are others that have been just absolutely spot off, I guess, like whatever the opposite of spot on is. I mean, they've been completely inaccurate. I remember when bin Laden was killed and that raid happened, he said that this is like the Taliban coming into Texas and then taking out George W. Bush, which is just completely, that was like a juvenile comparison. So there's times when he's been completely off the mark. But he always makes me think. It's kind of interesting. I think recently one of the problems is that he's become predictable. I can always guess his position on a certain issue. Actually, no, that was happening for some time. But now recently he did come out against the whole woke thing. Like he signed the Harper's letter. And he is a huge advocate of free speech. And he's a huge advocate of secularism. He also was very critical of Pakistan in a live stream that he did with a Pakistani, I think it was a university or something, where he talked about how the religiosity, the hyper religiosity in Pakistan is going to be devastating for it in the future. So he's one of those guys. He's just kind of like an independent thinker in a lot of ways. I don't think he's. I think often he's typecast in certain ways, but yeah, I do think sometimes he goes overboard, but most of the time he's spot on. Harris Sultan is saying, I'm saying this because it's a comment. He's saying,
no, just spell it out instead of.
He's saying, F you, Armin.
Okay. I don't know what that is in response.
Yeah, you're censoring me. I have to do that, but this guy can't come to Austria. I know. Kidding. I'm just kidding. Susanna is saying, it's always only you who hears echo. He's saying this to Armin. Armin, yeah, okay. That's gone. So Matthew is saying, who is your favorite Muslim apologist and why, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, mine is so easy. Daniel Hayraju, for sure.
Oh, favorite Muslim apologist?
Yeah, for sure.
Is he really an apologist? I mean, he's more of a sort of a proselytizer.
He defends Islam. What's the difference?
Well, I mean, everybody who's like a hardcore Muslim is going to defend Islam. I think when I think of apologists, I think of sort of liberal, secular type people who apologize for Islam, like Glenn Greenwald.
Apologist has nothing to do with the word apology.
I know the academic. You're talking about the academic thing, like Islamic apologetics. Yeah, I know. I would say I gotta say I really, really like the book No God But God by Raza Aslan. And as annoying as I think he is outside of the books that he writes, I think that Zealot and No God But God were great books. So I think that as long as he's writing books, not doing anything else, I'd say that he's actually fun to read. I enjoy reading Raza Aslan. Some good ideas.
I'm trying to find. Oh, there we go.
Muscal's Corner saying, what was the reason you both stopped believing in faith? Armin, go first.
Lack of evidence, history, and biology.
Yeah. For me,
wait. Believe in faith or believe in God? Okay, wait. Actually, this is a different kind of question. Stop believing faith. Yeah, because it's a useless methodology that gives you random results that has no predictive power and that is not repeatable. And it's like, yeah. So sorry, this is I answered a different question. Yeah, you're talking about the methodology. Why would it has never been proven to be used to produce any results that is consistent with objective reality. I mean, if any methodology gives you results that are consistent with objective reality, they should give you some predictive power. When has faith actually given you any predictive power? When has it given you models that are not self-contradictory? When has it given you any form of like a usefulness, like that goes back to like anything, produces anything that actually could produce, like for example, if you look at science from a methodology, the fact that it works could be demonstrated by technology, right? And all the fact that it's not repeatable, right? Like if you reapply the same methodology when it comes to faith 1,000,000 times, you're always going to get different results based on your background, based on this cultural background, based on this people that you are, the background of the history of the people that religion is being grown in, based on the faith on religions that no religion comes out of a vacuum, right? So given that it's so dependable on the environment, the results are so dependable on the environment, it shows that it's a very unreliable methodology to come up with any form of conclusions. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the faith, like I agree with that. And I put another thing simply, is faith is basically like believing in rumors. Like the chair I'm sitting on, it's a chair. It's knowledge when it's there, right? But faith means that I'm not going to prove this to you in any way. There's no proof of this. You can't see it. You can't hear it and everything. I just want you to believe it, which is a really dumb thing when we apply it to anybody else. If anybody came up to you and asked you to believe in anything because of those reasons, just because they want you to believe it without any evidence, you tell them to get out of here, right? But with religion, it turns out to be somewhat of a virtue. People think that it's a good thing to take that leap of faith and believe things without evidence. So
I do think also that this is a wrong question to ask. Okay, so when you say what was the reason somebody stopped believing in faith, the reason shouldn't be offered by people who don't use faith as a methodology. The reason should be offered by the people who are using it as a methodology to come up with truth. Like they are using it, they are the ones who should be offering the reasons why they're using it, right?
Yeah.
They are the ones that need to demonstrate that this is a reliable way of coming up with conclusions.
Yeah, and as far as we're talking about religion, I stopped believing it, not only because it didn't have any evidence, but because everything I was learning about reality, like the study of nature, which is called science, everything I was learning about it was actually contradicting. There's evidence against all the stuff that I was reading in religion. It wasn't even lack of evidence. It was contrary evidence to what was there. So eventually just couldn't reconcile the two. Bulbul is saying, what are your views on Gandhi? I like Gandhi overall, at the end of the day.
Yeah, overall, I think he was good. I know people keep bringing up examples of things he got wrong, and especially things that he got wrong earlier. Some racist remarks he made, that was like earlier. I don't know if he kept on having those views later on. Overall, I think he has a good resume.
Well, I mean, like, the Voltaire was a notorious anti-Semite, right? This guy, Gandhi was anti-Semitic. He had some. There were a lot of things about these guys. They lived in that time, and honestly, if many of us, if any of the sort of the woke white young people right now who want to tear down George Washington statues, if you lived in this time, 90% plus of you would probably also be part of slave-owning families and be defending it. So there are things that are just fit into the context of certain times. I mean, there are different ways to look at history. XYZ is saying, in your opinion, what is the greatest threat? CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, Western right nationalism, Islamism, or Hindutva? I personally think CCP because of their massive capital and technological supremacy. I disagree. I think the CCP is a big issue right now and needs to be focused on a lot. But what do you think, Armin?
First of all, I would replace Islamism with Islam. There is no such thing as Islamism. It's just Islam. There is a difference between Hinduism and Hindutva. I give you that. There is no difference between Islamism and Islam.
Islam is inherently political.
Yeah. Okay, I am actually leaning I would used to answer Islam right away, but I need to look at some more data because the BJP is the world's largest political party in the world, and Islam is being defeated. Islam is losing its influence. Hindutva is rising, and it's the greatest threat to secularism, democracy, free speech. The number of people that are influenced by Hindutva right now is astronomical. Like the fact that we're ignoring this as a rising threat. I mean, with Islam, at least a lot of people consider the threat globally. With Hindutva, because it's all based in India, I think a lot of people are ignoring it because it's just not in their backyard. But if you are a humanist and you care about the highest number of humans that are affected by a certain ideology, then I think that should be your number one priority, especially given that I think Islam, based on all the statistics that we're seeing in Iran, the United States, and Western Europe, I do think we're winning against Islam, and I think we're losing against the BJP right now. So again, is as an ideology, Islam is a lot more like just if you look at the scripture by itself, I think Islam is a lot more dangerous. It could be used for a lot of more damage. Like it's a much more powerful weapon. But right now, as it stands, globally, I think Hindutva is more dangerous, given that the number of people it impacts.
Yeah, I have a different view. This is a different context I'm coming from. Again, your view, this stuff is just depends on when you ask the question, and it'll be different answers. But at this point in time, I would say Western right nationalism. And the reason that I say that is because with China is not like a democratic country. You know, Islam is not one of those things. And Hindutva is like a nationalist religious movement. But with the West, with a lot of countries like in the US and in Europe, these are countries that have gone through centuries and centuries of societal and political evolution to come to certain values and to which I think are universal values, and they've applied them in a way that other countries at this point really haven't, and that's the ideal. So when you have corruption in that sort of nucleus that you're hoping you have higher expectations of, right, that's arrived at, I think that is a lot more dangerous often, even if it's at a smaller scale. And I think that must be nipped out, and that must be fought against before anything else. That's my opinion. Music guy is saying, Armin, is it true that most mullahs in Iran are millionaires, and also the anti-American government religious officials send their children to America and Europe to live and go to school?
I think you should change most to many, and then that would be true. Not definitely not most, but is it so? If you ask Armin, is it true that many mullahs in Iran are millionaires? Then that's true, yes, but not most, definitely not most. And also the anti-American government religious official, yeah, again, if you also change that to many, that's true. There are many people, there are many religious people that are actually responsible for the Islamic Revolution in Iran, like the founders of the Islamic Revolution in Iran, are sending their kids to the United States for education. It's actually, Ali, I don't know if you know this, but the student, the woman, the female university student who was led the capturing of Iran, United States embassy, and the hostage taking, so like the one that was like the spokesperson, that was like reporter, like she was like, yeah, basically all the world, like when United States hostages were being everybody wanted them free. All over the news, there was this woman that was being highlighted, and she was speaking for the hostage takers, right? That lady, she has sent her children now into United States for education. So the level of, and she gets so much crap in Iran for that. Much.
Hey, the Saudis do this too. A lot of like the really just sort of the Saudi elites and the people from the royal family, a lot of the religious police, like people over there, the religious authorities, they also send their kids to Europe and the US to go to university, and they're all. Do you know Christopher Hitchens actually had whiskey with Khomeini's grandson, right? I don't know what the story behind that is, but that happened as well. So it's also interesting. Then, okay, this is a question for me. Selva saying, Ali, what are your thoughts on when the rest of the world agreeing with the US on the genocide committed by the CCP? Again, the genocide, I assume, and I hope that you're talking about like the Uyghur genocide, which is Uyghur Muslims being held in concentration camps, everything from, forced sterilization to organ harvesting. There's all kinds of things going on with the Uyghur Muslims in China. It's going, and everybody's kind of turning a blind eye to it. I think the U.S. has recognized it. The Trump administration, they recognized it. I don't know what their intentions were, because at the same time, Trump also kind of said, okay, well, let's forget about that before. But the U.S. is generally recognizing it in a way. I hope more of the world does. Many of them have relationships with China. Like I know that Imran Khan of Pakistan, the prime minister, who goes around talking about Islamophobia in Western countries, and there's people hate Muslims everywhere. There's a lot of anti-Muslim hate. Complains about it incessantly everywhere. Wants to take down Armin's YouTube videos. Wants to take down my tweets. Like we get all of these things. The government of Pakistan wants to take down this tweet that you did because they find it Islamophobic. Completely okay with the genocide of Muslims happening by the Chinese government, because he's got to, the Chinese Communist Party, he's got a good relationship with them. There's total hypocrisy when it comes to this. So I don't know when it's going to happen. I think that the CCP has a lot of influence, a lot of like economic and trade relations with a lot of different countries who are dependent on it. So I don't think they want to rock that boat, but I'm glad that the hypocrisy is seeing the light of day. Shuvashi Stas is saying, Iranians that I met in grad school identify themselves as Persians and not Iranians. Aha. Is it because they do not want to associate themselves with religion, or is it due to the USA-Iran relationship? Is this also why they say Islamic Republic? Why you always refer to it?
No, I mean, okay, so first of all, they're idiots. Because the original name is not Persia. The original name is Iran. And the name Iran is pre-Islamic. The name Persia is what foreigners used for Iran as a name. So if they want to be true to if they want to be like true original name, they would use Iran. Okay, it has nothing to do with Islam. The name Iran has nothing to do with Islam. The name Iran was used before Islam was even a religion. I assume some of them, at least, hashtag not all, are racists who do not like the fact that the name Iran maybe rhymes with Iraq, or people consider the name Iran. Okay, so they're having these are Iranians who are having a very Western centric perspective, and the way that they see it is that Iran, the name Iran, is associated with recent history. Okay, so actually there's two explanations, right? One is that the Iranians who are anti-Arab racists and do not like the fact that the name Iran rhymes with Iraq, and they just want to make sure that they are not considered an Arabic country. Another one is that a lot of these people have so very little to be proud of in their country that they cling to the past, to the Persian Empire. So their understanding is in the mind of a Westerner, when you hear Iran, you think about modern history and all the problems with Iran. And when you hear Persian, you think about ancient history and the glorious Persian Empire. So they try to use that name to invoke a more romanticized, a more positive feeling about how great Iran used to be, even though even back then, the name Persia wasn't used. It was the Greeks and the Romans that called it Persia. The Iranians themselves, even back then, called it Iran. Does that make sense, Ali?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Fuad is saying, if you could debate any Muslim apologist, who would you debate?
Debate on what topic? Depends on what topic. Daniel Hairaju, yeah, for sure.
I
mean, you keep saying like as if you, and okay. Oh, Majid Nawaz, there we go. Does that fit the definition of apologist for you?
Yeah, I just generally I've been having, I don't know how useful the debate thing is. I prefer like just having sort of conversations with people because
oh my god.
Seriously, I just like with more, I'm getting a little tired of watching debates because all I see is each person really, really trying very hard to stick to their point. And I find that it's really interesting for the audience to hear both sides of it. It's great, it's fun, but I think it gets old after a while. I actually do enjoy people from different sides coming in and talking to each other openly. It still ends up being a debate, but it's more sort of there isn't necessarily this expectation that you really, really have to stick to your side no matter what and make your points no matter what. So I would again say I'd say Raza Aslan would be really interesting.
Okay, Ali, do you think we could do because we're already over an hour? Do you think we could do short answers to the remaining one, like really short answers?
Really short. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Circumcised answers. Fatima Wali is saying, how old were you two when you stopped believing in religion? The other day, my Muslim friend tried to invalidate my atheism by saying I was too young at 13 to know Islam and leave it. Are you 13, Fatima? Oh, okay. I guess. Oh, she was 13 when she left it. Armin, you said you were 18, right?
No, I was 16. I just became fully atheist when I was 18. But I left Islam and religion when I was around 16. But tell your friend that he's full of crap. Tell him that tell them that, well, you still think it's ridiculous, even when you're not 13.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Matthew is saying, Armin Navabi, what do you think about Western televangelists?
I think they're full of crap. I think they're full of crap. Yeah.
Okay.
I answered very fast. I think.
Gogo Dal. I like that, Gogo Dal. Ali, what are your thoughts on Mehdi Hassan and Al Jazeera? Mehdi Hassan is just absolutely useless when it comes to his religious apologetics, but he's occasionally very, very good. He's actually often very good when it comes to politics. So it's weird. Like, I'm politically aligned with him on a lot of things, but religiously, I just think he's, flying horse.
Okay, here. I had a good question here.
James is saying, what results do you feel could practically expect on both the US and CCP side ever since both US parties declared genocide is occurring? I don't know what that means. I think, what results do you feel we could practically expect on both the US and CCP side ever since both US parties declared genocide is occurring? So, what do we expect from the US and the CCP since both the Democrats and Republicans have declared that what's happening there is a genocide?
Okay, did you answer that? Because I have a good answer for Fatima by somebody else.
Yeah, but I mean, why don't you answer this? Because I don't know.
I don't really understand this question.
He's saying, what do you think is going to happen on both the US and the CCP side?
I actually don't know. I'm hoping that Biden surprises us and he goes aggressively against CCP. I genuinely don't know. I'm waiting for a surprise. I'm hoping that the prediction is that he's going to be closer to China than Trump is wrong. I'm pessimistic, but I'm hoping I'm wrong. So far, so good. Let's hope continue. So remember, Fatima.
Yeah.
Well, go on.
No, I was saying that everybody in the US, bipartisan, they agree that China is like a massive threat. And I think they're going to move on that. And that's going to be something that you're going to see escalating in the future, probably more on an economic front, more than anything else, because that is a way that you have fight wars now.
All right. I need to go back to Fatima's question. Fatima, remember she says she's 23. She's not 13 anymore. Remember she asked, what do we respond to her friends who said that she was too young, 13, to leave Islam? Maybe she should reconsider it. Jeremy, what? Jeremy actually responded to this better than both of us. Here's Jeremy answered it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If 13 is too young to leave it, birth is too young to join it. That's generally
Perfect.
the answer too. Yeah.
Perfect response from Jeremy. Okay, I think this is going to be last. Okay, two more. This is the second to last question.
Okay, how can Hindutva be properly tackled? The West sees them as yogis and mystics. Their propaganda is widespread, and as long as India has Muslims and Pakistan exists, there will be support for Hindutva. I don't think that that's true. I think the West does see Hinduism that way. They see Hindus that way. Hindutva and Hinduism are not the same thing. They aren't. Hindutva is a nationalist, like pretty much a jihadist version of Hindus, not really Hinduism, but Hindus overall that are just completely, they just think that Hinduism should be the center of India, which is one of the most secular, pluralistic, and largest secular pluralistic society in the world, right? Again, the second or third largest population of Muslims in the world is in India too, right? And they comprise about 13% of the population. So it's always been known for that. That has been the identity of India from a very, very long time ago. And so, the West does see Indians and Hinduism and Jains and a lot of the other sort of ethnicities and religions in India as yogis and mystics, and they're not wrong about that. But Hindutva is a completely different animal.
Yeah, I want to say that the people who we can rely on to tackle Hindutva are the Indians, the secular activists and the atheist activists in India. And I think they just need, what we need to do is just to amplify their voices, give them support, connect with them, and we don't need to reinvent the wheel. They are in the know. They know what the weaknesses are. They know how to respond to Hindutva, and they're growing. This is a growing anti-Hindutva is a growing movement in India, and we could just find ways to support them as much as we can, right? Especially when we're doing it from a position of safety. The second way that we tackle Hindutva is with Sexy Cali.
Blasphemy.
This is, you normalize blasphemy, okay? This is how you do it, okay?
Quick note, mockery, satire, blasphemy, these are things that work. They're huge. They really get under the skin of people who want to be taken seriously. The best thing you can do is tell them that you don't take them seriously. It worked for Kim Jong-un with the Seth Rogen movie, The Interview. It works for, pretty much it worked for Trump every time he made fun of his hands. Jon Stewart's show, The Daily Show, all of the satire. I mean, this is the stuff that works. This is how you bring down dumb ideas.
Yes. Susanna saying all roads lead to Sexy Cali. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And she also gave us a $2 super chat. Thank you so much, Susanna.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Last question. Oh, okay. I have two questions from Bulbul. Should we answer both of them?
Yeah, let's do both.
Oh, Bulbul is saying Sexy Cali in the house. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Two questions. These are the last two questions we're going to answer. Both of them are from Bulbul.
Do you think Western countries should take back ISIS wives who want to come back?
If they're citizens, yes, and then put them on trial and then imprison them. But they are citizens.
Yeah,
investigate them. But they are citizens, and they should have all the rights as citizens. The level of the crime that you commit does not mean that your rights all of a sudden. This is not how our rights work. Okay, it's not you have rights and all of a sudden you commit a heinous crime and all of a sudden you lose your rights. You don't lose your rights. You get punished. And you get judged, and you get fair representation, and you get to defend yourself according to the rights that you have. Okay, you don't all of a sudden lose your citizenship and lose all of that, and lose the right for you to be in that country just because how bad your crime was. Okay, that doesn't mean you're not going to get punished. That doesn't mean you're not going to get a fair trial. But if you're a citizen, you're a goddamn citizen. Okay, even if you committed like 5.5 genocides, you're still a citizen. You will be trialed and you will get the punishment that you deserve. Don't undermine the citizenship of your country because of these things, right?
I have a quick thing to say about this too. I mean, it really, a lot of this is a lot of people, not everybody went there to join for the same reason. A lot of people manipulated into it. There was some very young people who went into it. We had a guest here. Please watch that interview. Secular Jihadists had an ISIS ex-wife of a very prominent high-level official in ISIS. Her name is Tanya Joya. She was here and she did like a long talk interview with us. And you'll hear her story, and you'll find out that not every ISIS wife who was there committed a crime. The only way to find out where some of them were liable is to have them come back, put them on trial, investigate what they did and what they were doing, and take it accordingly, like you would with any other case.
Last question.
Last question. How will we do secular activism in India? They're throwing everyone in jail for sedition and blasphemy.
Okay, so
yeah,
there's two answers to this. One, when it comes to the responsibility of the people who are outside, and then the people who are inside. Okay, so the responsibility of the secular activists who are outside is to do the things that the people in India don't get to do so much to reduce the sensitivity associated with that, right? So we have to be part of the normalization of the things that people will think that there needs to be a strong reaction to, just to soften the blow a little bit for the activists inside India. For the activists inside India, this is not a responsibility, but this is a strategy. The reason why this is not a responsibility is because it's easy for somebody like me from a position of safety to say, look, go do this, because none of the consequences is going to be directed at me. But the activists who are taking the risk, one strategy that is used often is safety. Is this what it's called? Safety through numbers, right? So as usually the people who are at the front take the most damage and pay the highest cost, right? But as the movement grows, the relevant safety of doing this kind of activism gets reduced because of the sheer number of people who are doing it. What do you think, Ellie?
I would, in addition to that, I think that, again, both outside and inside, but political involvement. India is a democracy at the end of the day, okay? There are multiple political parties. Political involvement. Go out there, get out the vote, start grassroots movements, put candidates, support the right candidates, not just in the central federal government, but also at the municipal level, at the provincial level. Do the same thing. If you people outside India who want to help, have lobbying activities. For example, if in the U.S., right, the Indian American community in the United States is the highest paid. Like on average, like they make the most money. They're one of the most successful at the highest earning communities, even more than white people, more than other Asians, and so on. So get your forces together, get your financial resources together, lobby government officials, ask them to put pressure and to promote your agenda on the Indian government. That's the way to do it. Politics and political activism is something that I know people, I'm not into politics, I'm apolitical. No, but if you're not into politics, then you're just not into the world around you and everything that's happening and the way that it affects people. You have to be politically involved if you want to make a change. I mean, activism and hashtags can only go so far.
Actually, that's a very important thing. Yeah. Okay. So I was talking about more of the bottom-up activism, but it needs to be complemented with the top-down approach. You can't they need to work with each other, right? So very good point.
I mean,
anyways,
look at like AOC and Ilhan Omar and these people. Like, this has completely changed the face of democratic politics in the U.S. And these are people who ran unopposed, essentially. I mean, they were obviously going to get elected, and they don't have a whole lot of voter support behind them. Like, if they ran in a contested territory, a contested region in the U.S., they'd probably lose. But the fact that they're there and they have a platform has completely changed the face of democratic politics in the U.S. too. So it really makes a difference.
Let me just add on a good note. I even though I am extremely pessimistic about the future of India in the short term, I am also extremely optimistic about the future of India in the long term, right? If you just look at the short term, you can see the BJP and Hindutva rising in power and gaining more and more control over people's lives. It doesn't seem to be dying down anytime soon. In the long term, though, if you look at the difference of views between the younger generation and the older generation, is night and day. And at some point, these younger people are going to replace these old politicians, and I can't wait to see what India, all the potential. Like India is already taking over the planet. I can't imagine if all those secular views and all those non-dogmatic, non-superstitious views that is more common among the young generation, and all the enlightenment views that are more common among the younger generation in India, once that takes over in politics, I can't imagine what that's why India's I think future is even brighter than China's, because it's like China doesn't have that, coming. There's not something that's going to replace the powers that be in China, but India has that, and eventually it will replace these people. So this is the beauty of democracy, right? Because in China they could keep the, even though there's both China and India are being governed by some dangerous ideas, you can see that because there's elections in India, you could see a path for that to be replaced at some point when the younger generation replace them. But you don't see that path right now, at least in China. So I am extremely optimistic about India's future.
Can I say, I know we said that was the last, but there's an encore question that's a very quick answer. Fatma is asking, do you think Islam is basically a cult? And I will just give you a general answer on this. The only difference between a religion and a cult is size. That's it.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's technically, Susanna could tell us more differences, but for the layman, yes, that's the difference.
Yeah, but in terms of the way they function, is what I'm saying.
Okay. All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much for asking great questions today, and really enjoyed hanging out with you guys. And we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, happy February. And remember, if you like what you're hearing, if you like this, and if we mentioned some other episodes that we did over here and some other episodes that we're going to do on Iran and everything and other topics.
Yes.
Go and please support us. Go to patreon.com/SJME.
Right.
Patreon, as little as $1 a month, and you can watch all these live streams and participate and ask questions and all of that great stuff. And my connection is fine now.
Yes, your connection is great now. So yeah, by the way, we do the public version of these live streams when people come and ask us questions on Secular Jihadists once every month. But we actually have 4 other ones that we do only with our patrons, right? So your questions get highlighted more, and we spend more times on your question because there's less people in the live chat. So if you want to do this what you just saw, like live with us and ask your questions and with guests,
more in-depth discussions.
Yes. Become a patron, and we do live streams like this 5 times every month. All right. Cool.
Happy February. Smash that subscribe button. And be best, everybody. Happy February.
Link to our Patreon in the description, and yes, be best. Bye.
Bye.